put them into something, I don't know whether you've seen it, something called blue jeans. So become part of the blue jeans Jamaat. Huh? And get them to start smoking cigarettes and civilize them. What do? كذلك وقد أحطنا بما لديه خبرا. كذلك, one word. Sheikh Ali Mustafa, only one word. That's all. Zulkarnain had the compassion. He had the good sense, he had the integrity to leave them as they were, undisturbed. This is the understanding that we get from the tafsir. But we are struggling with just a few words. Economy of language has reached its perfection here in this passage of Surah Al-Kahf. كذلك وقد أحطنا بما لديه خبرا. Allah says, I understood perfectly why he acted in the way that he did. And so when power rests on the foundations of faith, power will place human values first before economic values and the exploitation of the economic resources of the world. The human being comes first. When power rests on the foundations of faith, power will respect the way of life of even those who live the primitive way. What a wonderful world it could have been. Huh? And then he travels in the third direction, which is to the north. But when we look from that Black Sea to this, the Caspian Sea, and now we're in the firm foundations of geography, when we go north, there is an unbroken barrier of mountains. What are they called? What are they called? Caucasus Mountains. An unbroken barrier of mountains. But this unbroken barrier of mountains has a little pass in between them. A solitary pass, where you can pass through from the north to go down to the south. And there he comes across a people. It's a very important clue now. لَا يَكَادُونَ يَفْقَهُونَ قَوْلًا. Their language could not be understood, indicating that this is a language which is unique, unrelated to the regional languages. An important clue. The Georgian language fits the bill perfectly. The Georgian language is right there in that region by the Caucasus Mountains. And the Georgian language is unconnected with all the regional languages. See how we're moving forward? They say to Zulkarnain, Inna Ya'juj wa Ma'juj mufsiduna fil ard. Gog and Magog are perpetrating fasad in our land. Can you help us? Can you build a barrier for us? We're prepared to pay you to protect us from them. One would have expected Zulkarnain to say, I don't need to build any barrier. I'll just move in there and teach them the lesson of their life. They'll be scared to even put their finger on you after I'm finished with them. But he didn't say that. And so now we have a profile of Gog and Magog coming out of the Quran. We have not gone to the Hadith as yet. That he is the superpower, and yet he does not, as the superpower of the world, he does not have the power to be able to go into them and teach them a lesson. They have a power greater than his. And all that he can do with Allah's help is to build a barrier. He says, I don't need your money. What Allah has given to me is good enough. Just help me with manpower. Bring me blocks of iron. So it has to be a region with iron ore deposits. That is the Caucasus Mountain around there. And after he had cut the iron blocks and put them on the mountain pass, the Quran describes فَلَمَّا سَاوَ بَيْنَ السَّدَفَيْنِ. Sadafain. Not by accident. Eh? The clues are coming one after the other, so fast they're coming. If you take a shell and you open it, you get Sadafain. This side and that side joined at the bottom. Like this. So Zulkarnain is describing to us the shape of the pass, Sadafain, like the sides of an open shell that are joined at the bottom. That is, up to this day you can go and see the same shape is there. It's called the Dariel Gorge. We are on very firm geographical foundations here. Very firm. So he builds the barrier with blocks of iron. We don't have to go and search for the barrier in Singapore. No! That's where it is. And after he hit the barrier, it's not called Sad anymore. The Sad is a barrier to patch something. It's now called Radam, which is like a dam. You build to create a dam. This is important because in the hadith you'll not find the word Sad, you'll find the word Radam. Good. After he built it, he said, now blow with your bellows. Build a fire, blow with your bellows. And now he poured kittle, molten copper, on the barrier, and Masabo, who is the engineer here, will tell you it prevents rust. After the barrier was built, Gog and Magog could neither penetrate nor could they scale the barrier. Then Zulkarnain said, هَذَا رَحْمَةُ مِنْ رَبِّي. This barrier is constructed successfully with Allah's help as mercy from Allah. هذا رحمة من ربي فإذا جاء وعد ربي جعله دكاء. Could Alexander, who worshipped the Greek gods and goddesses, could he say this? Huh? When will they wake up? He said, when that time comes of which my Lord has won, He is going to bring down this barrier. He is going to do it. وَكَانَ وَعْدُ رَبِّ حَقًّا. And then the warning of my Lord will come to pass. Gog and Magog are going to be let loose in the world. And since they have PhDs in facade, now we understand. The demolition job going on around the world today can only have one explanation, only one. This is the explanation. When they are released into the world, what kind of world will it be? This is why you have the word Karnain. Two horns or two ages. If you take the two ages as the meaning, that was one age. And what a world it could have been. And now this is the second age. Because I have created creatures of mine, so powerful that none but I can destroy them. This is Hadith al-Qudsi, direct speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Sahih Muslim. And so power in the world now, power which cannot be challenged, No. Will now be released, and this power will rest on foundations which have to be godless to be agents of fasad. Because godly people, righteous people don't act in that way. And so power will now be used in a manner which is opposite from that first stage. In that first stage, power rested on the foundations of faith, and power was used to punish the oppressor. Remember? And now power will be used, power which rests on foundations which are godless, power will be used to oppress. Are you beginning to understand the world in which we live today? That one is a power you can trust because it is on foundations of godliness. And anyone who has the truth in his heart must have the truth on his lips. So you can trust him. But now this one, there are three categories of lies. Did you know about it? There are lies, and then there are great lies, and then there is 9/11. This is the world in which we now live. And then that one was one in which power, which rested on the foundations of faith, was used to protect those who have faith and who are righteous in conduct and assist them. And this is one which targets those who have faith and who are righteous in conduct and demonizes them and terrorizes them and sends them to a place called Guantanamo. Do you see the difference between the two? And now, what about the journey to the east? That one, even if these were a primitive people, but they were living in a land below which there is a whole basin of oil. And that precisely, of course, is Caspian Sea. Eh? Caspian Sea is a huge basin of oil. With Zulkarnain, he left them undisturbed because the human person was more valuable than the oil. But the new world of Gog and Magog says no. Human beings are like cockroaches. You don't have to bother of them. And this new world is essentially racist. Racist to the core. And they're not like us. So they are dispensable. The oil is what we want. And we go after the oil without regard for human rights. Or they are people who are living a primitive way of life. So they only take from the earth enough for their daily sustenance. And they show reverence for rivers. And they would be horrified, absolutely horrified, to find a people taking all the sewage from a town and pumping it into a river. Are these human beings? Or are they some satanic force? This is how that primitive man would respond.